Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
Welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. For our radio audience tuning in at WYAD 94.1 FM and WYADonline.com, we're glad that you all can be with us. Also, tuning in through iHeartRadio and Amazon Music Broadcasting, we're glad you all could be with us as well. You guys know we love music and film around here, and our next guest is not only celebrating a film that literally right now is on the film festival circuit, but also something I think that is so timely for all of us. We're excited to welcome to our broadcast today producer and director Duncan Wong. We're going to talk to him not only about his film Home as a Hotel, but what it's been like for him to see the response on the film festival circuit, but also what he hopes you as viewers are able to take away from it. Kevin, thank you again for the time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
The pleasure is definitely all mine. I should let our audience know, Kevin, that you literally at the time we're having this conversation are at the Austin Film Festival right now. So I want to talk about this experience. You have other film festivals that are coming up going into November. What has it been like for you, Kevin, to see the response to the film?
The response to the film has honestly been really amazing. It's a little bit of a weird film in terms of like its approach to a subject matter, but it's really felt like everybody who's watched the film has really got it. It's really resonated with them. And it's affected them on an emotional level, which is, I think, our goal with the film from the beginning.
Yeah. When I was first pitched this interview with you, Kevin, I was immediately interested for a couple of reasons. Our radio audience here in Mississippi knows that for a decade I was the general manager of a hotel in my home state of Mississippi where I still live. And so, the fact that you're able to chronicle these individuals who are living in these single-room occupancies, we actually had individuals actually in the city where I was in Jackson who actually found themselves in this situation. And so I'm going to let our audience know at the end of our broadcast that they can find out more information about the film. But why was this a story you wanted to be able to tackle, Kevin?
Yeah, definitely. So, like you said, it's definitely a national issue. The issue of the affordability of housing is an issue that is affecting cities across the country, for sure. And I think, a lot of people know that San Francisco is kind of a poster child for that situation. But we saw, we had made a short film about a woman and her daughter that were living in an SRO, a residential hotel in San Francisco, Chinatown. And so for those that don't know, what that means is they have an 8x10 room, and then they share a bathroom and a kitchen with everybody else that's on the floor that they live on. And so obviously that's a tight situation for anybody, but especially if it's more than one person or a whole family. And so we had made a short about a woman and her daughter because, it was sort of at a time when we were coming out of the recession and sort of transitioning into seeing in San Francisco, this transition from, okay, we're coming out of the recession to, okay, this is kind of getting really crazy with how expensive housing is getting. And so the idea of what's the smallest possible place you could have and still have a roof over your head, just a single room, was sort of an interesting way to look at that. And so we made that short, but then through that experience of making that short, I think we sort of understood that, that immigrant experience, which is kind of the story that we were telling in that short film, was one of the experiences that people that were living in this condition had, but not the only one. There was a whole diversity of experiences. You have folks who are trying to get off the street that live in these residential hotels. You have folks that are seniors or disabled and, they want to be independent and they're on a limited income, so this is the housing that they can afford. There's artists who just, want to be able to live with not making a ton of money so they can just live off of it, what they make doing their art. So there's this whole range of people that, live in this kind of situation. And we wanted to really, if we were going to do something bigger, do something that reflected all of those different experiences. And so that's kind of how we got interested in it. And then we started to, after working with a community group on that short film that had introduced us to that family, we asked that they knew other community groups working in other neighborhoods to introduce us to other folks. And that's kind of how we found the people that are in the film and how we started following the subject.
Yeah. Kevin, what impressed me so much when I was prepping for this segment, too, is that this is a project that you all worked on for a while. So, talk to us about that. What was it like for you to devote years to, being able to share these stories, meet these individuals, and to make sure that you were able to not only share their individual challenges and struggles, but also show the bigger picture of how this is something, as we're talking about, is such, an epidemic around this country?
Yeah, certainly. I won't lie and say that it was easy, because it was certainly not. This was an independently produced film, an independently produced documentary, so that means that it was really just myself and my team that were doing it, and so we had to, we didn't have like a big network or a big studio with like lots of financial backing and everything like supporting us while we were making this. We really were making that on our own. So that meant we kind of, when we started out, we just started filming. We started going out and meeting people, and then we started to film. And, we got a few small grants from like small arts organizations along the way, and some support from some local arts organizations along the way. That really kind of like encouraged us to know that like, okay, somebody does believe in this, but it was, certainly not enough financial support to support ourselves and our lives. So we were also at the same time balancing doing freelance work for other jobs. So one of the things that I do to make a living is that I edit and direct commercials, and so I was doing a lot of that. My co-directors and producers were doing similar things. And so it was really, at times a challenge to balance, life is unfolding, something's happening, you want to be there to capture it on camera for the film, but, maybe you agreed to take a job on this commercial that day, or maybe you, have a personal obligation on that day. And so that's actually really where, having, because it's myself, I'm the director, but then I have two co-director producers on the film. So having a team of folks that really had a sense of the vision and the sort of like had a vision and a passion for the project, and so like they could go with our cinematographer Sang Chen, or like they could go together and sort of like capture something when one of us wasn't available. So that it was a challenge, but having a really great team that all believed in the project is what made it possible.
Love that. So I want to talk to you about another aspect of that, Kevin, because people listening to that, and I think for any of us, when we're passionate about something, we do understand that there are going to be sacrifices as well as risks. So I'm sure our audience would be interested in the why for you. Why was it so important for you, Kevin, to make sure this story got told regardless of the challenges you faced?
Yeah, for sure. So, I think there's sort of two whys. And so the first one, I'll sort of like tell the first one, which is more personal and specific, and then I'll sort of say the second one, which is more general. And so the first one is when we made the short film, when it came out, shortly before it came out, my grandfather had actually passed away. And when he was sort of like towards the end of his life, my family had a woman, we called her Sami, which means like distant aunt in Chinese. She would come and like help take care of him when, during the day, because he needed help doing basic things like as people do when they get older. And so he passed away. She stopped coming by the house, but I had sort of like built a little bit of a relationship with her over that time. And then the film came out, and then after the first screening, my aunt came up to me and she said, Sam Yi lives in an SRO. And I had no idea. She was this woman who had for a period of maybe 6 months to a year been part of our family, and she lived in a situation like this. And so, I really sort of felt like there's this whole group of people that really make, our society run, right? They do these jobs. They work in restaurants. They take care of our elders. They take care of children. They, are desk clerks at hotels. There's so many people that are sort of in the community that, they don't make a lot of money. They're doing the best that they can, and we couldn't live without them, but they live in these conditions that are not the best. And so that was definitely one of the parts of the reason that I wanted to tell the story, is to really sort of lift those stories up. But then the second reason is really just, I live in San Francisco. My dad was born in San Francisco. You know, his father came to San Francisco from China. You know, it's a city that like gave, you know, all of us opportunity, and it's a city that I love. I think it's, you know, one of the most beautiful cities in the world, but I don't think it's okay how things are going there. I don't think that it's okay for one of the wealthiest cities in the country to have people living in conditions like akin to the developing world. And so I really wanted to celebrate the city that I love, but also challenge it to live up to its potential, which I don't think it is currently doing.
Yeah. Love that. So, as I mentioned, you're literally, Kevin, at the time we're having this conversation, you're at the Austin Film Festival right now. You have other film festivals that are coming up, including in San Diego in November. We're going to let our audience know how they can stay connected with the updates. I know you have them on your site there. What is your hope? What is your hope that people, when they're able to watch the film, Home is a Hotel, that it not only does in connecting, I think, with the individuals you feature, but also thinking about this larger problem that we're facing and the appreciation we should have?
Yeah, well, I think, I mean, there's a couple things, but I think one of the big things that we sort of were hoping for with the film is there's a lot of, you know, because this is an issue that affects everybody, sort of like recognizing that, right? Like no matter what community you're part of, no matter what, like your race, ethnicity, geography, age, anything like that, like this is something that affects us all as a society, right? And so with that in mind, I think we wanted to sort of encourage people to reconnect with the human aspect of this. There's so much talk about it as a policy, as a political issue, that I feel like sometimes the humans that are actually like in need of assistance, like the humans that are like suffering at the other end of this are sort of lost in that conversation. And so we really wanted to re-inject that into the conversation of like, these are people, maybe they're not perfect, but they're, you know, they're valuable even so. And so that kind of leads to the second piece is like, you know, there's a tendency to kind of like look past folks that are struggling with housing, right, and sort of like not want to look at them. And I think in San Francisco, what's happened is like the solution has been to try to get folks into these hotel rooms, and then it's like, okay, they're housed. We don't have to think about them because we don't have to see them anymore. But that's not really solving the issue, right? That's just hiding it. And so I think really sort of like understanding that as a society, us creating housing that's affordable to everybody and like pathways for everybody to be able to have safe, stable, affordable housing is a public good, right? It's like good for everybody in the community when that is the case. Like it makes whatever issue you care about, whether it's the economy, whether it's the environment, whether it's immigration, whether it's, I don't know, like art, right? Like everything. Like if artists can afford a place to live, then there's going to be more art in the world. If families can afford a safe, stable place to live, then like their children are going to do better in school and go on to better things, right? Like if people don't have to like drive for, 3 hours to get to their job, if they can like live close to where they work, then like that's going to be better for the environment, right? So whatever issue you care about, like people having safe, stable, affordable housing will help people grapple with that issue. And so that's, I think, the big thing that we need to reframe, instead of thinking about housing as something that we want to have our public, like have the policies that we create for our society, instead of having those prioritized like property values and like investment in property going up, like really prioritize like people having a place to live. And so think about that when we think about the issue instead of like it as a monetary thing.
Wow. It's such an important topic, Kevin, and I'm so glad that your film is getting the recognition that it deserves and that people are able to find out about it. I know, as I mentioned, that there are going to be other dates that are coming up, so I definitely want our audience to stay connected. Again, our guest has been Kevin Duncan Wong. He is the producer and director of the film Home is a Hotel. It's at the Film Festival circuit right now. We're talking to him while he's live at the Austin Film Festival. He has other dates coming up. So, Kevin, how can our audience stay connected with the updates for the film?
Yeah, thank you so much. So I'm at the Austin Film Festival right now. We just had a screening this morning. We're going to have our second screening on Tuesday at 4 p.m. At the Galaxy Theater in Austin. And then after that, we go to the San Diego Asian Film Festival November 8th, and then New Filmmakers LA November 19th. And then we're still in the process of figuring out distribution, but the film should be available sometime next year for folks at home. So if they go to our website, homeisahotel.com, they can sign up for our mailing list or see if there's any other additional upcoming screenings. So we'll keep posting there near them. And then also our Instagram, which is Home is a Hotel. On Instagram, we'll post the screenings and when the film's available for people to watch at home there as well.
Love it, love it. Kevin, again, so glad to be able to speak with you. Thanks for taking out the time out of your busy schedule. I know this is an exciting time for you, and looking forward to speaking with you again.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live. Then it's go make today amazing. Take care.